ESG. What is ESG investing? There are a variety of different investing philosophies. One method you may have been hearing about more and more is ESG investing. Hey guys, my name is Ken. Today we are talking about ESG investing. You'll learn what is ESG investing, how to find great ESG friendly companies, and I'll give you some examples of stocks. Get some popcorn, should be very interesting. Before we go, I would like to ask you to trade that like button and invest in subscription to the channel for more useful content, and you're also welcome to support the channel. All the links are down in the description. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. Investors who employ this strategy check criteria within these three categories to analyze stocks. It's no wonder ESG investing is gaining traction. Research is increasingly showing that this investing method can reduce portfolio risk, as well as generate competitive investment returns and help investors feel good about the stocks they own. As said above, ESG investing entails researching and factoring in environment, social, and governance issues in addition to the usual financials when evaluating potential stocks for your portfolio. Let's review each of these issues in detail and point out some examples of companies. So E is for environmental. The environmental component requires research into a variety of elements that illustrate a company's impact on the earth in both positive and negative ways. A company that's an actively good steward for the environment might be deserving for your dollars. Environmental topics to research and analyze include the following. One is climate change policies, plans, and disclosures. Another thing is greenhouse gas emission goals and transparency into how the company is meeting those goals. Next one is carbon footprint and carbon intensity. It's about pollution and emissions. It also includes water-related issues and goals such as usage, conservation, overfishing, and waste disposal. Usage of renewable energy, including wind and solar, are also included to this topic. Also, recycling and safe disposal practices, green products, technologies, and infrastructure, as well as environmental benefits for employees such as cycling programs and environmental-based incentives. There are also reviewed relationship and past history with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, and other environmental regulatory bodies. For these details, look for sustainability reports prepared using respected sustainability standards such as Global Reporting Initiative and Principles for Responsible Investment. Corporate websites with sustainability pages can be useful for budding ESG investors, but be wary when they don't contain enough detail to paint a complete picture. For example, we can appreciate companies that demonstrate a commitment to recycling, but that alone would not merit a check in the E category. Note how the word goal is sprinkled throughout the above bullet points. While goals are nice, concrete numbers and metrics that demonstrate real progress are much better. So here's one example. Nike, the ticker is NKE, is a company that meets the environmental criteria of ESG. It's a leader in environmental dedication. Nike is a chief sustainability officer that oversees its many environmental efforts. Its Flyknit and Fly leather products were developed with environmental sustainability in mind. Nike signed onto a coalition of companies called RE100, vowing to source 100% renewable energy across its operations by 2025. There's actually more. If any of you are interested, you should read Nike's latest sustainability report, which uses the GRI framework, the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which are all great examples of the valuable data that ESG investors should look for. Next letter is S. S is for social. The social component consists of people-related elements like company culture and issues that impact employees, customers, consumers, and suppliers, both within the company and in greater society. For information on social aspects, ESG investors should look to sustainability reports, that use a respected standard like GRA or PRA that I talked above, because those sustainability reports go beyond environmental issues to include information on employee, supplier, and community elements too. It's also useful for ESG-minded investors to keep up with respected lists and annual rankings, including Fortune's Best Companies to Work For and Forbes' Just 100. Pay attention to media reports related to how companies treat their employees and their lobbying efforts for or against social justice issues. Another really good place to gauge how a company and its management is received by its workers is employee review website glassdoor.com. Here are some of the social topics to research and analyze, which include employee treatment, pay, benefits and perks, employee engagement and staff turnover or churn, employee training and development, employee safety policies including sexual harassment prevention, as well as diversity and inclusion in hiring and in awarding advancement opportunities and raises, ethical supply chain sourcing such as conflict-free minerals and responsibly sourced food and coffee, mission or higher purpose of the business, consumer friendliness, customer service responsiveness, and history of consumer protection issues including lawsuits, recalls, and regulatory penalties. Also, there is public stance on social justice issues as well as lobbying efforts. Great example of a company is Accenture. Accenture, if I'm pronouncing it right, ticker is ACN, has an admirable workplace approach, earning it a spot on Fortune's list of best companies to work for 11 years. Accenture pays close attention to its diversity and inclusion in its workforce. The company plans to improve its workplace gender ratios with a goal to have 50% female and 50% male employees by the end of 2025. Earlier, Accenture planned to better its corporate makeup as well, pledging to have at least 25% female managing directors by 2020. If you crack open Accenture's corporate citizenship report, you will find that its efforts satisfy some of the United Nations Social Development Goals framework, and the report also uses the GRI disclosure standard. So our next topic is about governance. G is for corporate governance. The corporate governance component relates to the board of directors and company oversight, as well as shareholder-friendly versus management-centric attitude. In less dry terms, ESG investors analyze how corporate managements and boards relate to different stakeholders, how the business is run, and whether the corporate incentives align with the business's success. Corporate governance issues come up every year during proxy session, when most companies file their proxy statements announcing their annual meetings. These documents cover a variety of corporate governance topics. Shareholders vote on a variety of issues presented to them annually, such as executive compensation, say on pay, director appointments, and shareholder proposals. Governance topics to research and analyze include executive compensation, bonuses, and perks, compensation tied to metrics that drive long-term business value, not short-term earnings per share growth. It also includes whether executives are entitled to golden parachutes, huge bonuses upon exit. Another topic is diversity of the board of directors and management team, board of director composition regarding independence and interlocking directorate, which can indicate conflicts of interest. It also includes proxy access, whether a company has a classified board of directors, whether chairman and CEO roles are separate, majority vs plurality voting for directors, dual or multiple class stock structures, transparency in communicating with shareholders, and history of lawsuits brought by shareholders. And one important is relationship and history with the US Securities and Exchange Commission's SEC and other regulatory bodies. Good example of a company would be Intuit. Intuit, the Nasdaq ticker INTU, satisfies many of the attributes in the corporate governance category. It has achieved a 40% diverse board, one of the highest levels in corporate America today. Strong management teams and boards have a significant amount of skin in the game, meaning they own shares of the stock they are steering and a personal incentive to make the company perform well. Intuit also displays this with strong stock ownership guidelines that dictate Intuit's CEO must hold stock worth 10 times their annual salary, and non-employee directors must hold the equivalent of 10 times their annual cash retainers. Intuit shows accountability by tying its executives' incentive compensation to revenue and non-GAAP operating income, as well as to the company's overall performance on annual goals related to employees, customers, partners, and stockholders. Where you can find all this information? Many corporate governance details are found in the sustainability reports, but interested investors should also read the annual proxy statements they receive from companies they own shares of. To research corporate governance attributes, including interesting tidbits such as CEO pay, before buying a stock, you can access proxy statement on the SEC's website by searching for the filing type DEF 14A. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on ESG investing. I read all the comments and reply them. That said, hear more other videos about personal finance and investments. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and hit the notification bell. See you in the next video.